I'm not going to try and swing this in my favor here by leaving out details or sugarcoating anything. I was mean about it. He was crying. I've been with my fiancé for 7 years, and we have been engaged for 3 years. We have gone ahead and tried to save the date 4 times now, and every single time, his mom convinces him to postpone. It's always, well, don't you think you have bigger things to worry about? Whether it be our living situation, we are renting and she thinks we should buy first because we aren't stable, or our money situation, this was her excuse after we loaned her $8,000 so she didn't lose her house, but we have plenty of money, as my husband is an RN and I'm a lawyer, it's just always something. We planned for a family gathering in my mom's backyard. She has 3 acres and a beautiful pond, and it's just perfect. And we are having potluck. So, a very low-cost wedding. Plus, everyone we know lives within an hour of the location, so only giving a month or 2 notice is perfectly acceptable in our case. With all this said, his mom has zero reason to try and sway us against it. But her newest argument is that we need to wait until our daughter is at least 3 so she can be our flower girl, she's 7 months old. Well, in December, my husband and I talked, and we decided we wanted to get married in August. I told him, don't let your mom dictate it, and he said he wouldn't and that he was tired of listening to her. Fair enough. But last weekend, my mother and his mother both came for dinner, and I was talking to my mom about what dress I wanted her to wear as the matron of honor. My husband's mom asked when we planned to tell her we had decided on a date, and my husband said, when we told everyone else. She just said oh and got quiet and took leave, maybe 20 minutes later. He had already made plans to go over to her house after dinner to help her with her cable box, so he left shortly after that to head over to her place while I drank some wine with my mom. When he got back, he was super quiet but said he was just tired and went to bed. But last night he said, at random, my mom kind of has a point. Maybe we should wait until we buy a house so our living situation is a bit more stable. She's not wrong in saying that it should be something we are worried about. I just went silent and didn't comment because I was pissed off. But he kept making comments, like, it'll only be a couple of years at most. I just took my ring off and handed it to him, saying I was no longer interested. He immediately started protesting and trying to put the ring back on my finger, and I wouldn't let him. I said I was no longer interested in marrying him and maybe he should move back home with mommy because I know for a fact that that woman will make up another excuse the second we buy a house, and I'm really just so turned off at the thought of marrying him at this point because I have zero business being with a man who has no backbone and would put our lives on hold in favor of a woman who still wants to scrub his back in the shower. As I said, I was mean about it. But to clear it up now, no, she has not said she wants to scrub his back in the shower, but she often talks about how she had to help him shower for months when he was 16 because he broke his leg, and as the story goes, he told her he didn't want help. And she forced it because she's fucking weird, and it's even weirder that she still talks about it like it was a fond memory to see her 16-year-old naked. He's crying at this point, and I'm stupidly calm, maybe because I'm over it, and I told him I wanted him to leave, or I could leave. But those were the only options. He ended up leaving, sobbing the entire time. I do feel bad. I feel gutted. He means everything to me. But I can't do this anymore. Am I the a-hole? His mom has been blowing up my phone with texts trying to plead her case, and I just texted back and said, no, it's fine, you won. Now you can have your baby boy back full-time. And blocked her number. My friends think I'm wildly overreacting.
My wife took a 7-week vacation, I'm not sure why. But I fell out of love with her because of this. I, 32M, have been married to my wife, 30F, for 4 years and we've been together for 8. She is a stay-at-home mom. We have Irish twins, 1F, 2M, which was incredibly taxing for my wife. She wanted a solo vacation break for a few weeks, where she would travel different states, visit her high school and college friends, go to concerts, and do a lot of fun stuff. She asked if I would be fine with it. I asked if she could make it maybe a couple of weeks shorter, because 7 weeks managing our 2 children alone sounded really daunting, especially since work was also getting taxing recently. I do work remote so at least that worked in my favor. My wife and I discussed for a couple of days, and I ultimately agreed with her that she did deserve a break because of what she has been through the past few years. And so she took her vacation. The first week managing our children alone was extremely difficult and I did feel like I was losing my mind, but I survived. My sister came over to help me from the second week on. She was honestly a lifesaver, and I will be eternally grateful for her. I never directly asked her to help me, but I guess I indirectly did because when she video called me the end of the first week, I basically broke down in tears. So from the second week on, my sister stayed over at my house to help with my children, and a huge burden had been lifted off my shoulders. I also was really able to focus on work and meet my deadlines. To be brutally honest, I did not miss my wife at all. I was emotionally and mentally relaxed, and also had a lot of fun with my children and my sister. I felt a sense of betrayal that my wife had actually gone through with the 7-week vacation. I slowly fell out of love with my wife. When my wife came back from her vacation, she was super refreshed and recharged, but to be honest I was a bit indifferent. My wife tried to initiate sex the first night she came back, which I rejected because I said I wasn't feeling it. The subsequent days, I had the same level of indifference in our day-to-day life, and she probably noticed it but didn't say anything. A week later, she asked me why I was like this and I told her I don't love her anymore. She apologized for taking the 7-week vacation, and asked if there was anything she could do to fix it. I told her no. We pretty much went through the motions next couple of weeks, before I finally decided that I wanted a divorce. She seemed devastated when I brought up divorce, which surprised me because I already told her I don't love her anymore. She asked if we could do couples therapy or marriage counseling first before I started looking for a divorce lawyer, and I told her I needed some time to think about it. I spent a few days thinking about it and I am still leaning towards a divorce, because I basically don't love my wife anymore, and I don't think marriage counseling can fix it. Ada for falling out of love with my wife because she took a 7-week vacation? Update. I posted my original post last night and went to sleep immediately after. I have deleted it for anonymity's sake, but it was preserved here. I woke up this morning, spent an hour reading the comments and decided that I at least owe it to our children to try couples therapy before considering divorce. I told my wife of my decision, and she was really happy about it. But I also told her I don't expect too much to come out of it, because I just didn't love my wife anymore, and wasn't sure if couple counseling would fix that. I want to clarify a couple of things. Money was not an issue. I am lucky to be working in a high-paying, albeit stressful job. It really didn't bother me how much money my wife spent on her trip. The main issue was I was emotionally and mentally overwhelmed managing 2 children while I was also working full-time, albeit remote. My wife was also specifically against daycare for personal reasons. By the end of the first week, I had lost my sanity and basically broke down in tears when my sister video called me. My sister had enough time to come over and help me from the second week on, and she really wanted to because it gave her a purpose in life. She has no plans to be in the workforce, and she is pretty much set in life because of my father's money. I did ask my father to not leave any money behind for me and give everything to my sister, because I was already in the workforce, and had a good job. My daughter's wedding is a running joke between our family and friends on what not to do when getting married. My daughter got married about a year ago. She spent about $20,000 on her wedding. It was a wonderful experience for her, but for all the guests, it really sucked. All the money went to something the couple would enjoy. The reasons it sucked for the guests were due to multiple factors. The biggest ones are that guests have to buy food, drinks, and entertainment. So people get to the wedding, and the ceremony happens. Then they go put into another room after a long day of driving out and don't get any food or drink. Most of them were forced to buy overpriced food since they were starving. They didn't even get any cake since the cake was fake. Overall, it was not a good guest experience. Afterwards, it was negatively talked about, and people were actually quite mad about it. My other daughter is getting married and asked for my help. Her sister offered to help, and my other daughter made it clear she doesn't want her wedding to be anything like hers. My daughter asked what she meant by that, and I was honest with her. Her wedding wasn't a good experience for guests, and it is a running joke at this point with family and friends. I thought she already knew since a lot of people hated her wedding. This caused an argument, and she called me a jerk by the end. I pointed out all the issues she had with her wedding, and she thinks I am being cruel. Edit, the money basically went to her dress, venue, and photos. I know her dress was $6,000. The venue was pricey, and she didn't get the food package. No one ate. Also, I wasn't part of the wedding planning because I was having medical issues. My husband started the Carnivore Lion Alpha diet, and I can't take this anymore. He has no sense. About 10 months ago my 35F, husband 47M, started the Lion diet, which is basically an extreme version of the carnivore diet. He only eats beef and salt. Nothing else. He says this is the ancestral way. I've done my best to be supportive during this period, but his health has continued to deteriorate while he stubbornly stays on the diet. His cholesterol numbers are sky high, but he refuses to stop the diet or go on statins because he follows a doctor on YouTube who has convinced him that high cholesterol is healthy. I spent 5 minutes researching the doctor, one of the most prominent carnivore doctors, and he's a complete quack. His skin is terrible. He has developed serious acne on his face and body, and xanthelasma under his eyes. My handsome husband now looks like a seriously unwell teenager. He has gained a lot of weight even though he insists it is impossible to gain weight on the Lion diet. He only eats 6 very fatty beef patties only every meal. Every single meal. I've told him that his diet is very high in calories, but he thinks calories are a myth. 10 months later and he seems to be gaining weight rather than losing the weight he insisted would be temporary. The house permanently smells of beef fat. But I think the worst thing is the time he spends with other people on the same diet. It's like some kind of cult of people who seem to have low IQ and behave in a very incel way. He's a member of a Discord group where they all motivate each other and share pictures of the meat they eat every day. 2 months ago I told him that I was considering leaving him for all of the reasons above, but he still hasn't changed. It's so upsetting that this is more important to him than his family. But I don't think I can raise our son with someone who behaves like a nutrition conspiracy theorist. But I also don't want to abandon the man I love who is very clearly going through a crisis. How can I make him see sense? Has anyone else been through this?